Retail sales drop 0.5%. Only 80,000 jobs were created last month, and Bernanke has some strong words for Congress. The $64,000 question, I think we need to update. The $64 trillion question is, will we fall back into a recession? Stick around, find out. I'm Allen Barton. Stand by for the front page.
The second important risk to our recovery, as I mentioned, is the domestic fiscal situation. As is well known, U.S. fiscal policies are on an unsustainable path, and the development of a credible medium-term plan for controlling deficits should be a high priority. At the same time, fiscal decisions should take into account the fragility of the recovery. That recovery could be endangered by the confluence of tax increases and spending reductions that will take effect early next year if no legislative action is taken. The Congressional Budget Office has estimated that if the full range of tax increases and spending cuts were allowed to take effect, a scenario widely referred to as the fiscal cliff, a shallow recession would occur early next year and about 1.25 million fewer jobs would be created in 2013.
Joining me in studio, Yaron Brook, president of the Ayn Rand Center for Individual Rights, and Terry Jones, associate editor for Investors Business Daily. 1 million fewer jobs. We're not on pace to create 1 million jobs anyway. Fewer jobs will be created. How can you create fewer jobs than we're creating right now? It's
Just
nutty.
wait. Just wait.
All right, so I think a good idea would maybe be to convene a deficit panel of really intelligent economists and politicians get together and maybe come up with some ideas to cut the deficit. Maybe we'll put that on the agenda for President Obama to get on that. Terry, anything significant here in Bernanke's remarks? I mean, it's sort of like on the one hand, on the other hand. Like, if you say it that way, who cares? You know?
Well, actually, there was something significant, and that is that there was implicit in his otherwise bland remarks a criticism of both the White House and Congress for not taking care of this problem that we have facing us, a fiscal cliff that's going to sock Americans with $500 billion in taxes, and probably, according to one recent analysis, going to cost us at least three-quarters of a million jobs, $200 billion in GDP, and cause business investment to tank.
Who cares, Terry? It will be fairer. It will be a more fair adjudication.
It'll be a better America.
It'll be a better America.
But the problem is that he lumped together tax increases, which will do exactly what you just said, and spending cuts, which you have to make. You have to make the spending cuts. And he kind of lumped them together. This is bad for the economy. No. Spending cuts, good for the economy, stimulate growth. So this fallacy, this Keynesian fallacy, that without government spending, the economy doesn't progress. It just permeates everything we hear on the news, and it permeates Bernanke's analysis and Congress's analysis. What we need are spending cuts across the board, dramatic spending cuts, and without that, we're in...
But it feels as though everyone is afraid, if you immediately cut a bunch of government spending, let's say you lay off 100,000 federal employees, sure, those federal employees will not have jobs. So they go like, oh, unemployment will go up. Everyone seems to forget, like, you need to reallocate that capital that goes through tax income to the government into the private sector, and then it turns... Everyone's so short-sighted about it.
Yeah, we've been through this before because, and I keep reading this go-around. You hear people say, well, it's never been done before. We've never actually cut spending. That is a total lie. And during the 1920s, starting from 1919 to 1927, federal spending was cut 84%. That's cut, reduced 84%. I just did the numbers on this, 84%. And it kept the economy from going into the tank. We had a boom period that whole time. So people who say it can't happen, it's utterly false.
All right, with the Fed's inflation relatively low, Senator Schumer gave Bernanke some advice during the hearing. Let's see what he had to say.
And you certainly agree that unemployment has been too high and is sticky, and despite two false starts, we're having a much rougher time than we ever imagined getting unemployment down.
Yes, that's true.
So get to work, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, Senator Schumer. I'm sure that little sort of condescending, patronizing remark, everyone will suddenly jump into action now that you, Senator Schumer, have said, get to work. People are in pain out there. What do you think, Terry? If he says it like that, clearly, their actions are before us that we can be taken.
Yeah, it's truly extraordinary having a Congress of which Senator Chuck Schumer is part that has refused now for 1,178 days to pass a budget, which is completely contrary to the law, to do anything to cut the size of government, to do anything to cut people's taxes, to do anything to cut the regulatory burden. They are now saying this is your job, Mr. Bernanke. No, actually it's not Ben Bernanke's job. Ben Bernanke has done way too much already. We've got 0% interest rates. We have $2 trillion in new money printed. That is way too much. He can do no more. And quite frankly, his quiver of arrows is empty now.
The hypocrisy of any member of Congress saying to anyone,
just shocking.
Get to work. I mean, these people work about 25 weeks a year anyway.
Well, and when they do work, they cause damage. I mean, everything they've done, Dodd-Frank, Obamacare, all of those are job-destroying activities. If anybody's to blame, it's them.
But they're talking about a possible QE3, Yaron. What would that consist of? I mean, again, Terry says the
print another $1 trillion.
The quiver is empty. What do they do?
Terry's wrong. The quiver's full. They can print as much money as they want. Remember, this is helicopter Bernanke. I mean, this is the guy who said, no problem solving depressions. We just drop money from helicopters. So, no, he could print another $1 trillion. He could buy up long-term bonds. We could have a long-term bond under 2%. People are talking about this. The fact that it's gone down to where it is today and it's generated no economic activity. And by the way, in his testimony, Bernanke took credit for whatever economic activity exists in the U.S. today. Look, Bernanke's done a lot of damage already. Whatever more he does will do even more damage to the U.S. economy, because what he's created is this enormous uncertainty about inflation into the future. So people are not investing. You can't save. Remember, savings drive production. People are not saving because they're getting 0% interest on that saving. Banks are not lending. Nothing's happening. And then Congress is at fault, and they're just doing worse stuff by regulating, spending, and talking about increasing taxes. So the problem in the economy, too much government and too much uncertainty about the future.
All right, former OMB Director David Stockman presented a dire prediction of a country falling back into recession. Let's take a look at what he said.
This economy then stays mired in the doldrums.
I think it's going to be worse because we will be in recession by the time the lame duck session.
You think this wrangling is going to drive us into recession?
I think we're heading into it right now. The numbers are so weak that there's a pretty good chance we're in recession already, and it will be retroactively declared. If it isn't, we're drifting into it. When they relook at the budget numbers with a realistic outlook with a recession built in, before, you know, it was 12 years, no recession for 12 years, the numbers are going to be far worse, and then the political environment is going to say, well, we can't possibly raise taxes in a recession. We can't possibly cut spending. So it's actually going to get far worse.
Terry, what do you think?
Well, first off, again, David Stockman is wrong on one thing. I mean, he wants higher taxes, even though he's a former Republican. But he's right about the recession. I mean, look, you look across the economy, there are a lot of nasty things happening right now. Existing home sales unexpectedly fell 5.4% last month. Unemployment claims shot up by 35,000 in 1 week. The Economic Cycle Research Institute, which is a very well-respected, nonpartisan group in New York, they just look at business cycles, they have nothing to do with politics, said, guess what, guys, we're in a recession. So things are not looking very good right now. All the indicators, the main indicators are heading south. There are still some healthy things. Corporate profits are holding up. Industrial output has been rising, but slowly. But, you know, you look at other sectors of the economy, and it's not very good.
Yaron, what would a new recession technically mean for your average American? I mean, I don't think they've experienced that they've come out of one, really, since 2008.
No, I think that's right. So we're been in this flat bottom for a long time, but it could get worse. It could get a lot worse. Unemployment numbers could jump up again. They could hit sectors that maybe they haven't hit in the past. We could see some additional problems in the banking sector and in other sectors of the economy. Corporate profits are very healthy right now, and indeed most of the jobs created over the last couple of years come from big business that is making profit and hiring. We've seen no recovery in small business. But if that gets hurt, then whatever job creation is happening goes away. you could see a beginning of a significant decrease in the standard and quality of life in America. And it's not like what we're saying is there's going to be, and this is, I think Stockton was right, this is not like we're saying, oh, there'll be a recession and then we know exactly what to do and we're going to bounce right back out of it and everything will be great. No, this could be another dip into recession and another bottom and another flattening. I mean, we're in a systemic decline in this country unless we completely reverse policies. And that means, again, not raising taxes, but cutting spending and eliminating. One of Romney's chief things should be to get rid of Dodd-Frank, to get rid of Sarbanes-Oxley, to start getting rid of the regulatory state and unwinding it and let business create wealth and create the jobs and get this economy really moving forward.
All right, guys, good conversation. For Terry and Yaron, I'm Allen Barton, and you've been watching Front Page.